Hey, what's going on, guys? Indie Pride here with Milk and Cookies Total War, joined by my good friend 50 Bomb.
Hey guys, what's up?
Now, you might be wondering, why is Dacia on the screen right now? Why are there noble spearmen? Why are there falxmen? Well, we're actually using the All Factions mod, and I did put a link to the link in the description of the Bactria video that I did recently, but I am probably going to put the link to the mod again in this video and the numerous other All Factions mod replays that we did do earlier today. So, the All Factions mod is awesome. There are some actually really cool units, and I think it's given a pretty good clue about some of the newer factions that are going to get put in the game at a later date. We don't have any idea, honestly, when factions like the Dacians, the Odrysian Kingdom, the Lusitani, the Arevaci, the Iberian Tribes, all those will actually make it into the game, but there are a lot of factions in the game that are pretty well fleshed out at the moment. And I think the Getae, which you see right here, are actually a pretty good example of that. So, 50 Bob, do you want to talk about the Getae a little bit? Maybe talk about some of the units they're able to bring, what makes them unique?
Yeah, sure. Well, they're lacking in definite good swords infantry. The only sword infantry they can get are these Falxmen, so they're two-handed swordsmen. They've got a shit ton of killing power, but
56 weapon damage and 40 melee attack.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
You're
But
welcome.
they have almost no defense to speak of. So, as you can see in my setup here, I've got them in the second line because I didn't want them to be the first thing to be charged because they get chopped up so quick. But at the same time, they chop up real quick. And for the most part, that's the only real unique thing they have. They have real good spears, these noble spears, and good shot cav too, actually, which is unusual for a barbarian faction.
So
But,
the spear horsemen
yeah.
are shot cavalry,
No, they're melee cav.
but noble horsemen are shot cav.
Yep, that's the one.
I see, yeah, they're using, I think those are Sarissas, actually. So yeah, for the Getae and the other Dacian factions, I'm trying to think of some of the Biephi, the Odrysian Kingdom, the Getae, and
Tireless.
Tylus. Nah, is Tylus? I'm not sure. I do know that the ones that I just said are Dacian or Thracian in nature. The Thracians, the Odrysian Kingdom, they actually have access to rhompaias, which the Falxmen don't use. The falx is actually a smaller version of the rhompaia, I believe. Sickle shape, two-handed. But yeah, like he was saying, you want to use these guys as they're basically a shock troop through and through. You don't want to send them first into a melee engagement because they have 3 melee defense and they're going to get shredded about as fast as any archer unit, honestly. But they have a lot of killing power, so if you can get flanking charge or rear charges off with them, they do a lot of damage. Now, that was the Getae, the faction that 50 Bomb is bringing in this battle. I, on the other hand, am using one of the Iberian tribes, the Arevaci. Now, I think the Lusitani... What are some of the other Iberian tribes that you can remember?
Yeah, Lusitani. I think Celtica had. Oh no, they might be. No, they might have barbarian infantry.
Cantabri,
Actually.
I know, is one of them.
Yeah.
And there are a couple others. Like, there are actually a bunch of Iberian tribes, but...
Yeah, I don't know enough.
Yeah, it's not that big a deal, actually. But the Iberian skirmishers right here, they're a pretty decent javelin unit. Kind of unique looking. Look a lot like the Balearic Slingers, actually. What are you laughing
Like
about?
twats. They just look like twats.
They look interesting, but they look really douchey. In fact, I think that's kind of a theme of the Arevaci and the Iberian tribes. All my guys look kind of ridiculous. Like, my noble fighters right here, like, they're really powerful unit. 48 melee attack, 48 weapon damage, 67 melee defense. About as high tier a sword unit as you can get. But you can see their little chicken legs here. They're not wearing any armor on their legs. So, I don't know. I think they're a unique looking unit. They're kind of cool. I wish they had armor on their legs because they just look kind of silly. I don't know if that's historically accurate or not, but I just think they look kind of silly. And every time I look at them, I laugh. So yeah, they are a very powerful sword unit. I have 4 of those, 3 Scutari Spearmen, just kind of a mid-tier spear unit. And then over on my left flank, the really cool thing about the Iberian tribes is they have access to a lot of different sword infantry, high and mid-tier sword infantry. And the guerrilla warriors are really cool because you can in patch 7 you can run them and they won't be discovered. So like they basically stay hidden no matter if you're running or not. So they can be a really good flanking force. Don't use them perfectly this battle, as you'll see in a little bit, but and then backed up by that, I have some noble cavalry, which are a good melee cavalry unit. So I think we can
Very
get
good.
into the replay now. Are you ready to do this?
Yep.
All right. 3, 2, 1, press play. All right, and it is important to note that all replays are corrupted. We've actually played 3 or 4 so far and watched all the replays for them, and none of them have played out perfectly. In fact, this was the closest one that we got to it. So if you ever see a unit that's literally not doing anything, while me and 50 Bomb, of course, do not have perfect micro skills, normally we're good enough to realize that our units are not doing anything if they're not doing anything. So,
Yeah.
like, when you see that a unit's not doing anything, it probably just routed off the field and isn't getting any more commands from the replay system because it wasn't actually there in the real battle. So that is important to note. What was your plan at the start of this battle?
I never have plans. Why do you start asking this? Well, because you had 4 cav dots, so I had the cav advantage. I figured I'd push that. So on my left flank there, you can see me going around. And I would lose a cav battle at this stage on the right because my spear horsemen are pretty bad.
Yeah.
And also because of the guerrilla fighters, which I did not see until very late. But I was just pulling back on that flank.
I think just right now they were shown, like, they just became apparent to you. So
right now they're coming up.
Yeah, now you know that they're coming up. So I'm gonna. My entire plan here was to keep my cavalry close to my guerrilla warriors. Obviously, I can't engage in a cavalry fight, or engage in a fight with only the guerrilla warriors because your cavalry will just shred through them. They only have 15 armor, which I actually just noticed for the first time. So they have killing power and they have the ability to flank your opponent. But again, going headfirst into other melee units, they're probably going to lose a lot of engagements because of that low armor stat. So definitely
and this is
important
a
to back them up
mistake by me. Sorry, Indy.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh yeah, I can totally catch Indy's cav, but I get way too isolated here on the right flank. But I did get trampled charges off, but yeah, it's not going to be enough.
I use my cavalry pretty inefficiently here, honestly. Like, I kind of got lost in the micro, let one of my noble cav get charged, and I think against noble horsemen, yeah, I'll definitely lose that fight.
Oh,
but
ouch.
I did actually.
Guerrilla warriors just got owned.
Yeah,
Sorry.
they did. Looking at the noble, yeah, they're already down half strength. They got basically just completely charged by a cavalry unit without any unit to block the charge. So I'm going to lose that. This ambush is not working out particularly well for me, and honestly, my micro at the moment is not very good. But I am actually winning in some minor engagements here. Like, I have 2 cavalry against this 1 noble horseman. I'll be able to kill that. And I am going to lose on the left flank here, but some of my units are going to be able to make it around. And basically, I just want to avoid those spears as much as possible, and then get my noble fighters into melee as quickly as possible.
Which is starting to happen.
Yeah, I think in terms of a melee engagement, it's pretty even. If you can use your Falxmen effectively to flank, you'll certainly win the melee engagement, but one-on-one, my noble fighters will definitely beat your noble spears.
Yeah. And you can see there, my Falxmen just got a straight one-on-one charge off on your noble fighters, and they're already down to 70 men. Jeepers creepers. Yeah, so they got pretty owned then, but I've got another one coming round the flank here, so that's... And I think they take on that Scutari Spearman and actually just clean them up so nicely. Because, yeah, against spears, particularly, the Falxmen really do some damage.
Yeah, and they have an extremely high charge bonus for an infantry unit as well.
Yeah. Well, God, both of those Falxmen have already routed.
Yeah,
your noble fighters have headhunt as well. My God.
Yeah, they have a lot of abilities for sure. But yeah, these Falxmen are going to be able to clean up my spearmen very easily. But I am actually winning here in the middle. I broke through his noble spears with my noble fighters. I am going to win that melee engagement, and I have 2 cavalry units coming around the rear, and these are going to be really what. If I'm going to be able to turn the tide of battle, it's going to be these units right here. I have clear charges into his ranged units. These Dacian bowmen honestly haven't made a huge impact on the battle, but the later a melee fight goes, the more damage the bows are going to start doing because armor and health statistics have dropped over the course of the battle. So taking those guys off the field is definitely going to be very important. Going to charge into them and should be able to clean them up pretty easily.
Yeah, and I don't have any cav to stop you either, so I basically just have to... I turned off skirmish at this point just so, like, possibly I could get a few kills with the other bows while the other ones were dying, but... Yeah. There was nothing I could really do. The infantry on my right would be good against them, but you'd be an idiot to charge them, so... Yeah, so my Falxman cleaned up that spear unit really well. 85 men left, 84, sorry. And this, I think this is, yeah, where the replay starts getting funky.
Yeah, the replay, basically what happens here is that my general right here only had 12 men in the unit instead of 37. And in the actual battle, I kind of wish I had live recorded it. Of course, the commentary itself wouldn't have been as good, but it was really, really close battle. And I'm still not going to spoil it yet because it still is relatively close at the moment. But going into this melee engagement here, I think his melee engagement in the middle is a pretty good representation of what happened so far, at least. You're
Except for that noble horse.
Yeah. Like you can see a bunch of these units over here were not actually there. That's why they're not moving. That unit right there, that unit right there, and this guerrilla warrior were not actually still on the field. But what's in the middle here is still basically correct, except for that cavalry.
Yeah, that's the one. And yeah, the noble spears do pretty good actually, considering they're going up against noble fighters, which being a sword unit should clean them up quite well. But I was impressed with them.
Yeah,
did well enough.
I think the high attack of these Falxmen has definitely made a pretty big impact on the battle.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
holy, 160 kills. Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, no, one of your Falxmen did extremely well. But one thing that I did notice that was definitely a mistake was I started throwing my Iberian skirmishers, like they started throwing spears into the back of my melee units, and I actually killed a couple of the remaining noble fighters that I shouldn't have, which was definitely a mistake there.
I have to see my guys are not moving anymore. That must be about the end of it.
So I'm going to commit the remaining Scutari spearmen into these noble spears, and with the remaining Peltas and the fact that I have cavalry superiority, I should be able to clean up the rest of this battle. Just get some nice cinematic close-ups at the end here.
Do it.
Noble spears look so sick. Those helmets
they actually do. Holy mother.
Just in general, the cloaks, the whole...
Yeah.
In general, I think their whole look just looks great. And they are actually unique. Like, I haven't seen any other units that really look very much like this.
This and your chicken legs.
And this is one of the reasons why I think that Getae and some of the other Dacian factions are definitely going to make it in the game. I mean, they wouldn't have spent the time to put in unique models like this if they weren't going to make it in. They're pretty well fleshed out, honestly.
Yeah, and their unit roster is good. They actually have something in every category. Even horse archers, which is slightly surprising, but still good to see nonetheless. It's just, yeah, they're lacking in swords at the moment. So I assume if they did come out, they'd probably have a wider variety. They'd probably get extra units. But yeah, it's not too bad, and they can get a lot of spears. So yeah, fun battle though.
Overall, what is your impression of the Getae? Do you think they'd be like a decent, good, trash faction in multiplayer?
I think that'd be very viable. That's for sure. And actually, the Spanish factions too. It's only really the Thracians and the Spanish that I can see coming into it. The other ones we tried were pretty strange / hard to use. /
really bad.
Hey, I didn't want to be so mean to them, alright? They have feelings too.
There are some really bad factions, and the biggest reason is that really they're not supposed to be played. CA didn't intend for factions like Cyrenaica or... give me some factions. Yeah, certainly Garamantia. A lot of the Arabian Peninsula and North African factions are just trash. They have, like, their best melee unit cost, like, 400 talents. And they have no elite cavalry and no horse archers and like one unit in every category. Yeah, like there are some really bad ones. But like I said, they probably weren't meant to be in the game, and that's why the factions that have the more complete unit rosters, like the Iberian Tribes, like the Dacian Tribes, are probably going to make it in the game at some point.
Yep, and I look forward to it because I reckon it'll be awesome. And I love Falxmen. I don't know why.
They're pretty cool. But if you love Falxmen, you're going to love the rhompaias, and I'm going to do my best to get a replay for that as well, because that is the coolest weapon in the game, in my opinion. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll be bringing you more content soon, hopefully some more with this mod as well, and of course with Bactria, which was just released today.
Yeah.
So I will talk to you later. Wow, 50 Bomb, you sounded so excited.
Sorry, I am excited.
See you guys.
I swear.